You know what's rad? Kaiju fights. There's nothing greater than watching two giant monsters duke it up. Gamer Braves. What's up guys, this is Watermelon from Gamer Braves, and I just cannot stop thinking about Final Fantasy XVI, man. Game comes out next month, and there is so much that even in our last preview, I didn't actually even get to the bottom of everything we had. I figured that we've talked a lot about like Clive combat, I want to say. You know, switching between icons and stuff. Today, I figured we'd just talk a bit more about the actual icon versus icon fights, because they are a huge part of the game, and Square Enix has been dropping a lot of the fights in what I like to call the Robot Master style marketing. There's no surprises in the boss fights, you know where they all are. In Final Fantasy XVI, Clive has the ability to turn into Ifrit. And usually you do this in what I call icon battle, where you're fighting the other icons in the game. The first time you really do this that we got to try was in the demo a couple months back, where you get to see Ifrit throw down with Garuda. It should be noted that when we talked to Yoshida back then, he mentioned that each of the icon fights would be designed around the icon you're fighting. So it's not going to be, you know, just two dudes in an arena duking it out. They would play into the unique characteristics. From the gameplay we've seen since then, we've had stuff like Bahamut, who hangs out far away from you and tries to snipe you. You also have stuff like the Titan fight, where Titan is just much bigger than you, and you're basically clawing at his ankles like a cat who hasn't been fed. But it looks like there is more to the icon fights in FF16. For example, you may have seen in the footage that you're not always playing as Ifrit. There's at least one sequence in the game where you're playing as Phoenix instead. Now, for story reasons, we don't know what's actually going on here. Are you just playing as Phoenix as dominant, or has Clive suddenly gained the ability to steal icons as well as their blessings? One thing has been certain though is that they aren't completely reinventing the controls for every icon fight. For the most part, a lot of the footage that they've shown since then, Ifrit does have the same moves. He's not going to suddenly learn new moves for the sake of a fight. He gets to keep skills and then carry them over into the next fight. I do think it's really cool though how they change perspectives depending on the icon you're fighting. For example, Ifrit feels very big and slow in the Garuda fight when they're about the same size as each other. But put him next to Titan and the dude feels like he's on crack cocaine as he dashes around slashing at his ankles. That's not the only secret as well. It looks like not every person you fight as Ifrit is going to be an icon, so to speak. They have been very open about the fact that there is at least one boss fight in the game where you have to turn into Ifrit to fight him, and that's against Typhon. What's funny is that it has been asked, like people have tried asking the team about, you know, the presence of secret icons, and the answer has usually been in the negative. But the game also is very clearly showing off that Ifrit is not just there to kill icons and dominate. He's there to fight anything that is too big for Clive to handle. It does give me a lot of confidence for how Final Fantasy XVI is gonna be. Listen, I played a lot of games in the PS3 era where changing characters in the middle of a game was a cool feature because it lets you tell the stories you want to tell, instead of just locking it to one style of format for every single boss fight. I'm also really interested because even though we know who all the icons are, we haven't seen all of their fights. And that makes me think that there are some fights that are gonna have nice little secrets in them. I mean, they've been open about a boss called Titan Lost. Is he the second phase of Titan? Is he some sort of weird boss rush mode of Titan? Why does he look so cool? These are all questions we want answers to because that fight looks super rad. At the same time, we haven't really seen anything too much about the Shiva fight other than her raising her arms to do some magic, or what's going on with Ramo. And it's not like there was any particularly huge news bomb being dropped about these icon versus icon fights, but I figured that since people tend to mention the icon fights as a kind of side thing attached to the rest of the combat in Final Fantasy, it would be a nice touch to just have like a here's everything we know about icon fights so far kind of way. I do have to say, on a personal note, I really love the trend of boss fights that inform what their playstyle is going to be like later. Like we covered in our previous videos, you know, Bahamut the boss fights a lot like Bahamut the style that you unlock, and I'm pretty sure that all the other fights are going to be something similar to that. If the demo that we played is anything to go by, I wouldn't be surprised if each of the icon fights was preceded by a dominant fight beforehand, where you kind of fight the human dominant and then they get into a kind of like in-between phase like Benedicta does. Did I just bring this up so that Henry would have to play the clip from the Benedicta fight again? I might have, actually, because I still think that clip is really, really good and it gets overshadowed by all the informative stuff. Which icon in Final Fantasy XVI is your favorite? I'm still holding out on Fat Chocobo being a secret icon in the game, but you know, I'm a dreamer. This has been Watermelon from Game Braves. Take care, guys. Thank you so much for watching our videos. Don't forget to give us a subscribe if you'd like to see more, and like so we know what kind of content you want to see. Got suggestions for new content? Let us know in the comments below too. Thank you so much again for watching. Take care, dudes.